Jamaican farm workers in Ontario have gone on strike. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security said it is closely monitoring reports of Ontario, Canada, indicating that farm workers are operating under subpar conditions. The minister said that the latest reports suggest that farm workers faced with adverse living conditions made the decision to withdraw their service on Thursday in protest. The workers said that they decided to protest after their living quarters were flooded with wastewater. The group also reported that this was just one example of the inhumane conditions under which they are being made to work. The Jamaican said that the farm was not among those visited by the fact-finding team last year. A man accused of pointing a gun through the window of a house and ordering the householder to open the door has been slapped with several charges resulting from the incident. Logan Taylor, also known as Duppy Dolly, a 36-year-old laborer from Stony Hill in Lewis in St. Anne, was arrested after he was reportedly shot by his cronies a few days after the attempted holdup. Taylor has been charged with attempted burglary, assault at common law, possession of a prohibited weapon, and using a prohibited weapon to commit a felony. It was reported at about 12:45 a.m. on May 25th of this year. A man armed with a handgun went to a house in Bottom Chester in St. Anne and attempted to kick off the householder's door to get in. When this did not work, the man went to the window, pointed the firearm at the householder, and ordered him to open his door. The householder made an alarm, and the would-be burglar ran from the premises. Last Wednesday, Taylor was shot and injured by some men known to him. The police said he was found at his home and taken to hospital. And following investigations, he was charged in connection with the attempted holdup. Still in St. Anne, the St. Anne police said that they are following strong leads into Thursday's fatal shooting of a 90-year-old retiree in Brownstown in St. Anne. Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell, head of the St. Anne Police, said retired Public Health Inspector Kenneth Downer was killed at his home in Huntley District in Brownstown despite cooperating with an intruder who demanded money. Mr. Downer was at home with his helper about 4:30 p.m. when a man with a firearm entered through an open front door. The intruder demanded money, and it's reported that when the helper went to an adjoining room to search for some cash, she heard a loud explosion. When she returned, she saw Mr. Downer lying on the floor in a pool of blood. SSP Powell said the area is not known for criminal activity. Meanwhile, Jody Ann Jackson, the 28-year-old woman who is accused of hiring a contract killer to carry out a deadly attack in Port Antonio, Portland on Labor Day, was remanded on Friday when she appeared in the Portland Parish Court. Ms. Jackson was charged with 2 counts of murder and shooting earlier last week, is to return to court on June 13. Shade Pink, 28, of Campbell Avenue, and 23-year-old Keena James of Johnstown District were both shot dead at a gathering on May 23rd. And it's reported that the victims were among a group of people playing dominoes on Campbell Avenue in Port Antonio sometime after 11 p.m. when a car drove up. A man alighted and opened fire on Miss Pink, who was the intended target. Mr. James, who was playing dominoes, was also wounded in that attack. Both were pronounced dead at hospital. Investigators said that Miss Pink, who was in an advanced stage of pregnancy, was targeted as part of a love triangle. It is said she was killed because she was pregnant for Jackson's boyfriend as well. And investigators further alleged that Miss Jackson, who is also pregnant, drove the hired killer to the scene and pointed out Miss Pink. Police are now searching for the gunman who pulled that trigger. A man was shot and killed by unknown assailants in Mansfield Heights in St. Anne on Sunday morning. He has been identified as 31-year-old O'Dane Hall, otherwise called Ratty, of Gully Road in Oracabessa in St. Mary. Police reports are that about 12:15, Hall was at a bar when 2 masked men armed with guns approached him and opened fire, hitting him before fleeing the scene. Police were alerted and Hall was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. A motive for the killing has not been ascertained. A resident who requested anonymity said she heard about 20 shots fired. 3 gunmen, including 2 of Jamaica's most wanted, have been killed during a standoff with a police military team in Stop Valley in St. James earlier on Saturday. One of the dead men has been identified as Nestor Zadu Gallimore. These men are believed to be responsible for at least 10 murders in St. James. The police did not disclose the identity of the other men beyond saying 2 of them are among Jamaica's most wanted. Meanwhile, the usually quiet farming community of Roehampton in St. James was plunged into mourning again after 3 of its male residents were gunned down in the community on Friday, and their murders bring to 6 the number of people killed in the area last week. The victims have been identified as 38-year-old Conroy Lawrence, otherwise called Beanie, shopkeeper Chevron Gordon alias Kong, and 50-year-old Carlisle Morris, otherwise called Shatta. Reports are that the men were at a shop in the community at about 10 p.m. on Friday when they were attacked and shot several times. The incident took place just days after two other men were also shot dead in the same area. The men killed on Wednesday were identified as 23-year-old Liston Anderson and 23-year-old Tavar Doman. Reports are that they were at their home when gunmen forced their way into the house and shot them several times. And as the killing fields continue, 3 people were shot and killed in Clarendon on Friday as well. They have been identified as Kelvin Anderson, otherwise called Styler, age 42 years, truck operator of Pecan District. Cecil Ricketts, otherwise called Parch, shopkeeper of Grantham District, and Delroy Facey, otherwise called Skengdon, or Misadon, age 56 years, a farmer of Belmont District, all from the parish. Information received is that the 3 victims were at a shop which is operated by Ricketts when an SUV motor vehicle drove to the location and men armed with guns exited the vehicle and fired several shots. The criminals then fled from the area. On to sports, Jamaica's Shericka Jackson delivered an outstanding performance in the women's 100 meters at the Racers Grand Prix at the National Stadium on Saturday. Jackson powered home in a season's best and meet record time of 10.78 seconds, which is just below her personal best of 10.71, which was set in Monaco in 2022. Her time stands as the joint second fastest in the world this year. American sprinter Sha'Carri Richards is the world leader with a time of 10.76. Anthony Strong from Barbados secured second place, achieving a season best time of 10.99 seconds. Sasha Lee Forbes of Jamaica finished third with a time of 11.07. NBA, the very dangerous and unpredictable Miami Heat cooled the red-hot Denver Nuggets last night in a shock victory that is heard all over the U.S. sporting world today. Miami winning 111 to 108. The Heat, although seemed not a match, was able to claw their way back from a 15-point deficit and took over the lead in the third quarter and held on to win despite the accurate three-point shooters that the Nuggets have. And the trees seemed to be falling for the Heat last night, but it was the defense that stepped up that had the Nuggets taking tough shots that did not fall. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo both scored 21 points, but it was Vincent scoring 23 that was the stigma. Kevin Love is now back and Duncan Robinson were just a thorn in the Nuggets' heel. And of course, you know that Jokic, the Nuggets top star, he was still unstoppable, scoring 41 points, but his helpers had a hard time supporting him as the Miami Heat turned their defense up. And if you ever miss the news on this radio station, please go to YouTube, type in JAMAICAN on the Undiluted News, listen, like, share, and subscribe to keep it going. My name is Mikey Bones. I gone.